Well, hello, and happy Wednesday to you. It is so awesome to have you join us here on In the Loop. As you know, it's always a fun day when we get everything together. And I know Greg has some really fun updates for us. And I really want to ask Greg what happened on Monday too, because I know that you probably saw he was telling us that we needed to watch the space shuttle launch, and I think it didn't work out. So we'll see what his feedback is on that. But of course, I'm going to keep you on tops of all things business, finance. What up, Greg? How you doing today?
Doing good. It is good to see you. Yes, super busy, which is awesome. Always great to be here live with you, talking to everybody, and welcome everyone to the show. So good to see everybody joining in, letting us know what you want to talk about and your comments as we go through, because we're live right now. This is part of the fun. We just have a conversation. I've got some interesting things to talk about that I want to get some opinions on here coming up once we go into some of the tech segments. So I'll say this. Flying cars maybe in the mix. So we'll have a little bit of that. That's just one teaser, some really kind of cool futuristic tech and some things that you can even get now. So all that's coming up. But it's always awesome to be here live with everybody. It's so great to see everybody.
Thank you, Greg. Flying cars. I can't
Yeah.
wait. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Well, I see Vicky, I see Joshua, I see CrossX Fighter joining from YouTube Live. It is so great to have all of you with us. Of course, now let me do this because, Greg, I feel like we got to do this because we've got a lot of new people catching our show now. For those who aren't familiar with Greg and I, welcome to the show. I'm Winnie Sun, longtime financial pro, CNBC council member, Forbes contributor, and host of Level Up, which can also be found on NASDAQ and Amazon Fire, just to name a few. And of course, the one and only Greg. You gotta know Greg. So Greg, let's bring it. I want to say hi to all our new friends.
Yeah, hi everybody. So I'm Greg Nibbler, longtime tech reporter covering all things in that world, among other things. But usually I like to cover the things that are a lot of fun. You may have seen me on a lot of different outlets over the years, and I've got something exciting I'll be talking about too, just at the end, that I'm going to be doing in case anybody's going to be at this event. But I've got some news at the end that I'll let everybody know about. But if you haven't seen me before, I just like to follow what's cool and what's fun and talk about what's going on in tech. We're not going to go too in depth with anything. We're just going to have fun with it. So that's usually what I do with it. So thanks everybody for joining in, especially, like you said, all these new listeners and all these new viewers that are joining us right now. It's so good to see everybody.
It's so good to see you. And I know I can't wait, Greg. I can't wait to hear what you have to say about tech news and, of course, that flying car that you tease. And let me just tell you, Greg, I actually thought about you for what I'm preparing to share today. So I'm excited to do that.
Nice.
But let's start with the market, shall we? Because we'll just start with some of the challenging stuff and then move into what I really want to share with you and Greg. And that is, first off, the Dow closed down 280 points. The NASDAQ closed down 66 points. S&P 500 also down 31 points. So across the board, we continue to see negative numbers. It's disappointing, but not completely surprising, given the news that came out last Friday from Fed Chairman Jerome Powell, talking about, of course, that inflation, we're going to have near-term pain before things are going to get better. And so investors and families were all watching this and looking at inflation levels and wondering when our groceries are going to start to cost a little bit more reasonable levels. But temporarily, it looks like it's not going to be the case. Now, let's segue over to some news, though, that came out. And today's big news was that the FDA has officially now updated authorization for the new COVID-19 pandemic coronavirus SARS booster shots. Okay, these are the new ones that you've been hearing about that are going to be targeting the Omicron subvariants. Namely, here in the United States, this vaccine or this booster is going to be aimed at BA4 and BA5. Now, if you remember, the government has said that we probably get news about this sort of mid to late September, but they sort of were able to do that more quickly. I guess they got it done before month end. They let us know that this would be available. And so word is saying that we'll probably have these two new boosters available to us in a matter of days. So the FDA cleared two options for Americans here. And that is, one is going to be from Pfizer and its German partner BioNTech. And the second one is going to be Moderna. Now, the Pfizer vaccine is going to be available to those who are age 12 and over, and the Moderna is going to be for those who are 18 and over. But there are some things that you'll have to think about too. If you're thinking about getting this booster, the first thing that they said is you got to make sure that this is actually a booster. So you had to have your first 2 shots. And not only that, but your last booster or your last shot had to be at least 2 months before. So if you just got your latest booster or you just finished your 2 round of shots, you're going to have to wait a little bit more before you'll be able to qualify for this next booster. So, there's hoping that this is going to be helpful as here in the United States, we go into fall and winter and they're concerned that cases would come back and be bigger. So I don't know. That's what, a lot of people are talking about today. And in case you're wondering, that's what's available. They're saying that right after, probably right around Labor Day, which is literally just around the corner, that these shots, you might be able to start to get these vaccines in Americans pretty soon. Okay, so that's the big news for today. But I want to segue also to another story that I found and I thought it was really interesting. And this one's kind of fun because this one kind of, I think, is going to help a lot of people. So the Bank of America, many of you are familiar with Bank of America, they just announced this week that they're going to come up with a new mortgage that's going to allow people to qualify with zero down, so zero deposit, zero down payment, zero closing costs even. So no, escrow, title fees, none of that. And this is going to be for first time, or actually, I don't know if it's first time home buyers for Black and Hispanic Americans. And this is going to allow people to participate in basically a very, very attractive first time home buyer program. Now, this is designed so that there will be more Americans in Black and Hispanic communities or individuals to be able to purchase their first home, making it a little bit easier. But what's nice about this program too is that it not only includes these very favorable terms, but also they said they're going to allow for people to go through training to understand how these loans work. And they're going to go through some certificate program through the Bank of America program to make sure that they're successful and be able to keep these payments, be able to go ahead and make that. And one thing I thought was really interesting about this too is that they said, unlike your typical mortgage, in this case, this B of A mortgage, you don't even have to have a FICO or credit score. You can actually qualify for this loan just showing consistency of being able to make those utility payments and things like that. So they're really honing in on more accessibility to Hispanic and Black owners to be able to purchase or families to be able to purchase their first home. So I love that. I think that's really exciting. And I thought that was pretty interesting that this is coming out. And hopefully, more banks will follow suit. But this certainly is really attractive. No down payment, no closing costs, and even no real credit score too. So really, really interesting times. Now, let's I should also say, well, I should probably add also then this is not just in all parts of the United States. This is primarily in Charlotte and Dallas, Detroit, Los Angeles, and Miami. So they're just like sort of testing out this program, seeing how popular it'll be. But typically, if you don't put 20% down on your home purchase, you have to pay property mortgage insurance too, PMI insurance. And in this case, they're going to waive that as well. So you just have to basically, they're going to have to take a home buyer certificate program provided by B of A, but it's pretty great. It's a federally approved housing counseling partners and things like that. So it's supposed to help with the racial gap in home ownership, which has been substantially, I guess, divided here even since 2020 here in the United States. All right. Now, all right, so I'm going to segue. And Greg, I was thinking about you when I did this research. And of course, I wanted to give you as much value as possible. And I'm probably messing up because you were probably looking to surprise everyone. So I will be very careful to not do that. But if you have travel coming up very soon, those of you who are watching, I see Sadiqa as well. I see Tedra. Tedra, it's wonderful to have you back on LinkedIn Live. Thank you so much for being here. And so the mortgage information, absolutely. If they'll be able to sell it back to Fannie Mae, great point. So we'll have to take a look at that. So Tedra, I don't know if you heard this, but I want to make sure I share this with Greg because I have a feeling he might be getting on a plane relatively soon. Anyway, there was a report that recently came out this week, in fact, talking about the delays in travel because many of us are getting back on the plane. We're starting to travel. We're starting to feel like, we can do this again, and we're excited about our next destination. But there are some airlines in the United States that, let's be honest, have kind of flopped during the last few years. They've really been quite disappointing. They've canceled a bunch of flights. So I thought I would tell you this. If you're about to get on a plane, which airlines have basically not gotten the best score in terms of reliability in the last few months or last year. So the number one is Republic Airways. Now, Republic Airways operates some services such as American Eagle, Delta Connection, United Express, so that regional carrier. Well, they reign supreme. Number one, they actually canceled over 10,000 flights, 6% of their schedule in the first half of this year. And number two, believe it or not, was JetBlue. JetBlue
Wow.
also, I know, and I love JetBlue because I love their
Yeah.
service, right? And they have better, leg room, and they have a great experience. But they were number two, Greg, and like worst performing airlines. And I'll share with you this number six, which is the biggest big airline, which was American Airlines. Number eight was Spirit Airlines. Number nine, Greg, I know this is the one that you fly, Alaska Airlines, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was number nine. They actually beat Frontier Airlines, and Southwest Airlines was even part of this list because I know a lot of people like Southwest, United Airlines, SkyWest Airlines, Delta Airlines, even Hawaiian Airlines. A lot of cancellations. So, just that
Yeah.
you might want to know if you're going to be flying soon. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes me a little nervous about the trip that I'm going to be doing. But
But there is good news coming too.
yeah,
Because your flight will be perfect.
knock on wood somewhere. Yes,
Knock on wood somewhere. Yeah. And then this is something else, Greg. I also did more research for you because this is something that you and I had talked about after we filmed last week. And that is for those of you watching, some of you have thought about flying internationally here. If you're in the United States, one of the big travel perks, I got to tell you that I'm a big fan of, is global entry. Now, I want to talk about global entry because if you've thought about getting global entry, let me just tell you, this is how crazy it is. So applications for global entry currently are taking anywhere between 6 and 18 months to process. In fact, the Department of Homeland Security here is actually telling travelers or encouraging travelers to, you know what, just don't even worry about global entry and just make sure you have TSA pre-check, which, okay, TSA pre-check is great. And I have actually both. But TSA pre-check is really just meaningful if you're flying domestically. But once you leave U.S. soil, global entry is key. In fact, coming back from international travel, let me tell you, global entry can save you not just like a little bit of time. We're talking hours of time. It's just so much easier. But because it's popular, as of March, more than 10 million Americans currently are enrolled in the global entry program, which allows you just to have much easier access back to the United States. Actually, no, I apologize. I think it was 10 million total, but I think 8 million of the 10 million had global entry versus just pre-check. But it's a significant number. But because of the volume of people wanting to apply, this is becoming quite delayed. And they're saying right now, unless you fly multiple times a year internationally, they recommend that you apply for pre-check. I kind of disagree with that, but that's what they're saying. But I want to tell you, there is sort of a back door, Greg, just in case you want to get this done a little more quickly. And I think I really want to make sure put this on your radar because I would suggest, Greg, you consider doing this. So what you can do is you can apply for it. You pay for it, apply for it, and get yourself conditionally approved. Then once you're conditionally approved, then on your way back to the United States, you can actually sort of speed up and do a shortcut process because you can do something called enrollment on arrival. And this is so cool. So basically, you're pre-approved, you pay for it, you come back, and you just do enrollment on arrival, and you basically can bypass having to wait for that appointment. So instead of waiting like months to a year and a half, you could actually get it done in like maybe even weeks, maybe even days. Yeah. So this is a website. This is the U.S. Customs and Border Protection website. Of course, I'll make sure to share this with you as well in comments. But yeah, so highly recommend if you're here located in the United States and you think you're going to do international travel in the next 4 or 5 years, whenever, I would highly recommend you do this. And for those of you who currently have it, make sure you don't let this lapse. Make sure you renew as soon as your time horizon is up, which I think is 4 to 5 years once you have it. I actually put it into my calendar because I'm always so worried about, losing my status there. But so huge recommendation. And then with that, the only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to segue over to Greg, but afterwards, I'm going to share with you my latest Forbes article too, so everybody could take a look at it and let me know what you think. But let me go to Greg. Let's go to Greg. Let's bring Greg in. Let's see. There we go.
Okay. And then, I definitely want to know about the Forbes article and everything as well too. So that's awesome. And that is really good advice that I should have followed before my travels that are coming up. But I love the fact that there might be a loophole. So that's fantastic. I'm going to look at that right after this show. But before we talk about any of that, I do have some stuff, some things in tech. I do have here to start off, if there's some new device that's coming out or something that's changing the landscape a little bit, that's a little bit different, I like to bring people's attention to it. And that's what I have with this one here to start off. And it's a new laptop from ASUS that we got to see earlier this year, but now it's actually out for you to pre-order and purchase. And it is a foldable laptop. Now, foldable meaning, every laptop has a fold, but I mean kind of like the foldable phone, all one big screen that folds. And that's what we're taking a look at right here. So this is an OLED, so it's the best screen that you can get. And on top of that, what you can do with this thing is basically you have a tablet and a laptop kind of wrapped into one. So that is a pretty big deal, I think anyway, as far as kind of changing up the landscape. There's some other ones that have come out before, but this one seems to be kind of the best attuned to doing that. And that's why I always like to know what people think about these things as well, if this is something you'd be interested in. So there's a couple of things to think about with it. So the way it can be used, it's a 17-inch screen, so it's a good size for a laptop. When you fold it, now it's going to 12.5 inches, and you'll have the screen there. You can use it in a couple of different ways. So you'd have it folded and use a screen just like you normally would for a laptop, and then the second screen could be wrapped into it, or it could have a virtual keyboard that's on there. I'm not always a big fan of virtual keyboards unless there's really good haptic feedback, because it just kind of feels a little weird to me. I like a little bit of sensitivity with the keyboard, so you can add on a Bluetooth keyboard to it as well and use it that way. And this is why the different functionality they can get with this thing, I think, is pretty cool. So they're showing it, you can use it as a full 17-inch, you can use it as wrapped up, you can use it as a tablet, you can fold it, you can use it in so many different ways that it's pretty interesting to see. Now, it only has 2 Thunderbolt ports, which is starting to get kind of standard. I always like more ports, the better, but that's what you're getting. It does still have a headphone jack on it, so that's kind of a big deal. They didn't get rid of that. And the battery, I'm taking a look here just at the battery to confirm. So it's about 9.5 hours in laptop mode, 8.5 hours if you're using it as a desktop with the full 17 inches and the keyboard. So you can kind of use it in a few different ways there. The price tag, though, is where it may get some people not quite as interested. It is $3,500 to start. And there's really not a lot of configuring to it. So I think $3,500 is about it. There's a couple of things you can add on, if you want the Bluetooth keyboard and some other stuff that you can mouse, you can add on some different things that way. But $3,500 is quite a bit to start off with a laptop. But this idea is really appealing to me. I like the idea of not having to carry both a tablet and a laptop. That would be, an advantage there. So if you look at it as far as, how much are you spending on each of those, I guess you could kind of do that. I still don't think you'd have to go up to $3,500. So that's where we're at with these. And it's like looking at the foldables for a lot of different items too. There are any kind of foldable device. You look at the phones from Samsung, they're not cheap. You're like $1,800 for some of those. So that's why it's going to be expensive. But if this is successful, that's something that eventually will boil down and be, eventually that tech will boil down. So ignoring the price tag, I do always want to know what people think. So I see Sadiq says, actually, my laptop is $4,000, but it's a workstation. Yeah, I think if you're using it as a full-on workstation, you have $4,000 in there. I doubt this is going to be compatible for that, especially if you're doing maybe high-end video production, which I'm guessing maybe that's what you're doing. I don't know for sure, but crunching a lot of numbers in there, that would be probably not something that you would use this for necessarily. But the idea behind it, what do you think about that? Is that something you'd even be interested in, having those two things combined into one and using it for different purposes? I think it's cool. I would, as always with this, with these kinds of innovations, I want to see, other than using it like a normal laptop or a tablet, what makes it cool that it's a foldable screen? What are some different software applications? What are some things that I just haven't thought about that maybe could be great? So that's what we're looking at with this. So it's out for pre-sale now. There's some great write-ups and reviews of it that are out there for you to check out. I'll retweet some of those. It'll be okay for streaming online. Yeah, it probably would be for that, but at that price, I think, I don't know if it's necessarily the best value for it. I'm seeing Winnie, saying save your money. This is an expensive item. If you want the newest and biggest thing, this would be it. But I think so far, this is the best version of a foldable laptop we've seen. So wanted to let you know about that. Look that up. Let me know if you have. Winnie's asking, is it a no for me? It's a no for me as far as that price tag. That price tag is just too high, I think, for what you're going to get out of it. If you want, if you're willing to spend that kind of money and this is your avenue, this is what you like getting that stuff, then, sure, go for it. I have to wait until that comes down in price, because if I'm going to spend that much, it's got to be able to do a lot of things for me. And I don't think we're quite there with it, but the design, I always applaud that. I always like to see innovation, even if it's not something that a lot of people are going to be picking up. Just like any kind of foldable device or any kind of thing that's just different and changing up what we're used to. Cool. Not going to buy it. So that's kind of my review on that one, just taking a look at it and letting people, know about what's going on there. So that's one piece of tech for this week. Got a couple other things that I want to bring up, and we're getting into some future tech, but things that are actually attainable. And you've heard me here on this show before talk about flying vehicles. A lot of them end up looking kind of like drones that you can fly around, like personal flying vehicles. How about an actual flying car? And that is what we're seeing from a company called Samson. And this is their flying car. And they just received approval from the FAA to begin testing. And by flying car, I really mean this is a car that then has wings that will come out. You can drive it to an airport and then take off, fly to another airport, land, and drive right off the tarmac, get back on the streets. So this truly is the idea of a flying car. So to tell you a little bit more about this too, let me just pull up my details. This is 14 years they've been working on this. It's called the Samson Switchblade. Switchblade, presumably because those wings pop out. You've got a propeller in there that's fully encased within the vehicle to propel it. Couple of stats on this thing. They can go up. They have a 450-mile range. It can fly up to 13,000 feet high, and you can do quite a bit with it. So taking a look here, just some of the comments too. Feel free to ask anything that you want, and I'll try to answer if I can. But this is like that actual flying car that we've all been talking about. I really mean this is a car that has wings come out. Yeah, it seriously is. It's that convertible car that's converting into a plane. So this is in order to fly it. A couple of things. One, you'll need your driver's license. You will have to get a pilot's license. However, the company said that you can use this as your training vehicle, provided that the pilot who is training you is willing to train you on this. They can train you with this. So you can save some money on a plane rental, is how they were putting it, if you were to buy this, and while you're getting your pilot's license. So you can actually do that as well. The other part here is a couple of other things. So the price. Now, you expect it's going to be a lot. And this right now is anywhere between $175,000 to $195,000 to get in on this. They said that they've got a lot of pre-orders on it already. Of note, this is actually a company based out of Oregon, out of Central Oregon, where it's a high desert, so they test out a lot of things there. I really want to get over there. I'm in Portland. I really want to get over to Central Oregon and see if they'll let me fly in one. I don't know if that'll happen or not, but that would be cool. So Samson, if you're watching, would love to hook up with you on that. But yeah, it's the actual thing. I love this. You'd have to get your, seeing some of the comments. So Winnie's saying the price 175 to 195 already has a wait list. Yeah, there's a wait list. They said in all 50 states and multiple countries of people who have already put down money to pre-order this. How many seats? That is a good question. I believe it is a 2-seater. That's a very good question that I actually didn't double check. So I think it's a 2-seater. So I don't think you're going to be able to fly a lot of people, and that would make sense, especially for the weight and to be able to actually get off the ground with this thing. They said you'll have to get up to 88 miles an hour, I believe it was. You'll have to get up to that in order to get off the ground. And wasn't that Back to the Future in 88? So you'll have to get up to about that in order to get off. And you would actually go to a real airport. Another thing they mentioned is that most people, at least here in the United States, are within 15 miles of at least a regional airport, so that you would be able to, get there. And with a 450-mile range, think about what you could do with that. You want to take a quick weekend vacation. Maybe you're commuting to work. If you're that kind of person, what does it run on? It is gas powered. So it is using that. They talked about, actually, in as part of their press release, the electric vehicle aspect. There's a lot of companies working on the electric side of things. Their idea behind that is that battery power for those is still a ways out for something like this. So they are going with the gas-powered, the EV side. They said that's something that they're still researching in. Winnie, I'll wait for the minivan version. Yeah, that would have to be a little bit bigger. I want to make sure that had enough power to get off the ground if you're doing the minivan version. But there's, a lot of things that you can do with that. So yeah, flying car, it's happening. So they think that these things, well, with the testing now, because that's a big hurdle with any of these flying vehicles, is will the FAA, which is the Federal Aviation Administration here in the United States, they're the ones who control all of that and say who can fly and who can't and monitor it. They are giving it approval. They're saying they're far enough along the line, they can do some of the tests, and that gets it that much further down the line toward production. So it's, with all these pre-orders, there's a chance you could see one of these driving down the road, heading to the airport sometime here in the next couple of years. You may end up seeing an actual flying car on the road. I don't know if you'd want to get, like, if you had some land, if you want to make your own runway for it, that I guess would be something to think about. Have your own runway at home. You definitely need some more space for that. But even if you live in a city, just head over to your regional airport, take off, and land 450 miles away. Take yourself a vacation. That's a good distance too, 450 miles. So pretty cool on there. Convertible flying minivan, buddy. So that's what we're looking at. Again, it's called the Samsung Switchblade, and definitely take a look at some of the videos that they've got out there. They're pretty impressive, showing just the tech behind it and how it all works. But I think it's cool. Yeah, you need a 2 for driving / flying license, so you will need to get your pilot's license before that. But as I said, you can train with it, so maybe you save some money. Although then again, if you're spending $200,000 on your flying car plane, probably the money's not a big issue for you. So there we go for that one. Okay, a couple other things here that I wanted to bring up this week that I thought were pretty interesting tech advancements and some research projects that are going on. So one of them has to do with texting underwater. So if you are a diver, or if you've done snorkeling or whatever, there's a lot of waterproof phones now, or you get the waterproof cases. So using your phone underwater is a much more feasible thing to do now. I mean, there's lots of, especially with the cameras on those, you want to use it sometimes, you'll clamp it onto yourself. But the other issue is sending any messages or any kind of data underwater doesn't work. And that is because of the radio waves that it uses, those frequencies, they break apart when they get the water. You can't send messages. But this is what this project from University of Washington is working on. They're calling it Aqua App. And this isn't an actual app yet that you can download. I'll explain that part here in a second. But they wanted to figure out how divers or people underwater could communicate better. And so what they're doing is actually taking a cue from Mother Nature and using sound waves to communicate. So you have the way it'll work is you have 2 phones, each with this software on it. You don't have to have a special phone. They said you can use existing, at least Android phones for now. So it doesn't have to be a special kind of phone. They can make it work with that. And what it does is you have the 2 phones send little sound waves to each other. They call it chirping. So it'll send a specific sound. The other phone's able to pick it up, and they constantly stay in touch with each other. So if you have somebody else, because there's a lot of factors, right, underwater, there could be obstacles, you're moving around, the distance changes. So they stay in touch to know how far apart. They said it'll work up to about 100 meters right now underwater, and you can actually send messages. So they've got it to where it has some set messages where you hit the button and say, I'm going lower, going higher. There's a shark, whatever it is that the pre-messages are that you want to send, watch out. however it is that the messages that divers send to each other. And you can actually do it. And they're saying it works. And it's really, really cool to see tech like that happen. And it's not just for novelty purposes. Part of what they're looking at for this is saying that this could be clearly for amateur divers, to send some little communications, maybe like, hey, there's a good something to take a picture of over there. I missed what Sadiq said, but saying believe there's some diving computers that might do it. And yeah, there's probably some more. There are diving computers that you may text underwater. So there's probably using some of that tech. But this idea that you can do it with just your regular phone is pretty interesting, even if they expound upon that to other devices. So yeah, amateur divers could use it, but they're looking at it for even professional divers, rescue situations. You look at maybe underwater construction, just different means or different activities that may really be helped out by having that kind of thing. This may not be a groundbreaking technology, but it's cool to see, to me, what else our phones can do, right? This is just taking standard phones, not any kind of special operation, standard phone, and what you can adapt it to do. It just proves more and more what these things are capable of. I mean, they're already becoming practically medical devices in addition to just being our phone and our avenue to the internet. But now texting underwater, seeing what else you can do with it. Pretty cool to see that kind of research. So that's from University of Washington. Love seeing what they can do with that and how they can make all that happen. So awesome from that. All right, I've got one final thing here. And just so everybody knows too, it's not that Winnie's not chiming in. We have a little tech difficulty going on there. So I'm not just saying I don't want to hear from Winnie and just talking over her. Yes, she's there. She's still here.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah, actually.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So
okay, I'll come back.
Okay, it's all good. Yeah, so texting underwater, that's what they're working on. And again, there's so many really, really cool research projects and tech that are going on from research labs all over the world. And I love hearing about those. So if you hear of something like that, or some kind of cool experiment or research project, pushing the bounds on technology or science, please send those to me. You can always let me know. I always love to hear about it. So send me a message anytime. All right. Final thing here. Final tech topic for this week. It wouldn't be an episode of The Loop or any show that I'm on without talking about robots. And I'm bringing back up a robot that we have seen before. This is a robot called a mica from Engineered Arts. That picture right there that Tim just put up. Yeah, that's not the friendly robot that I really want to be around. So this robot, the way they're working on it is they want it to be very lifelike with his expressions and with the way that it interacts with people. So you got a video right here. This is showing it doing two different things here. So this is an advancement from the last videos we saw. One, using hands. The hands weren't really involved with this robot before, and it's using it expression-wise, showing some different ways to, if you watch me, I definitely talk with my hands a lot. I try not to do it when I'm on air, but I can't, it's inevitable. I use my hands. I'm expressive. So that's what I do. So seeing a robot do that, it makes it look a little bit more realistic. Now, the other thing is using the facial expressions, and they've had it now to where it can mimic virtually any kind of expression that you can do. And that means, this video here kind of demonstrates it. So this is one of the engineers, presumably somebody with Engineered Arts, showing it, and look at the robot follow exactly what he's doing. Every little motion, like down to even the simplest, smallest movements, this robot is mimicking it. And it's using actually the Apple AR kit from what they said that's what they're designing it with. But yeah, watch this. So it's following his facial movements, mimicking it exactly. It's uncanny, which makes me think of the uncanny valley, which if you're not familiar with that term, it's the idea of seeing something that's almost human-like, but it's just different enough that it kind of weirds you out a little bit. That's what this does for me. I mean, this looks like one of the robots from, I don't know how many people probably saw iRobot with Will Smith back in the day. Like that right there. And the fact that it has the teeth involved too. I mean, but look how closely, even just the slightest movement of his mouth, like doing that, it can do it. So that's right now that we don't know for sure if it can do this on its own or if it could just mimic exactly what he's doing, based on the camera on there. But they're getting closer and closer to having something really, really cool, but really, well, like I said, unnerving to me too. But I want to know what people think. Like, let me know. We're kind of at the precipice of a lot of stuff going on in robotics right now. You've got this company working on their robot with engineered arts, but you also have coming up later at the end of September sometime, Tesla has promised to show off their, I believe it's called Optimus, their robot that they say is a fully functional walking robot that could be your home assistant. We'll see what Tesla shows, but between them, engineered arts, what Samsung's working on, Honda, so many different companies working on robotics, Boston Dynamics. I think we're starting to get closer to that idea of actually having a home assistant robot, which I am all for. I'll tell you this, there are some projects at my house that I don't want to do, and I would be happy to have. I don't like going up on my roof. So if I could send a robot up there to clean my roof off, I would be all for that. Or maybe doing some wiring, or laundry, whatever. I'm all for that side of robots. I don't know if I want that menacing face though, that it was doing.
Yeah.
I want to turn that function off.
That's a little, I think, like, why can't we have robots look like robots and leave the human look to the humans? Because I feel like we need to have that division, right? But yeah, I mean, I guess you want someone just to do all your handiwork.
Yeah. Yes. The stuff that I'm too scared to go do. Wiring and getting on the roof, not fans of those. But you know, and I think that's a good point too, bringing up that separation of what a robot looks like, because some of the studies show some people want them to look more human-like because then they feel more attached to it, especially if you look at like home care, maybe in that side of things. I'm with you. I think that's cool and all. I mean, and the technological achievement's really amazing. I'll stick with just a flat screen panel face, you know, staring at me. I'm fine with that. You know, I don't need the robot smiling and smirking at me necessarily all the time.
2D is okay.
Yeah. But we'll see where it goes. I mean, regardless, very, very cool what they're doing just on the technical end of things, to be able to have that much functionality programmed in there. I mean, even with the teeth part of it is what got me. It's so close to human-like that it's just interesting to see. So there we go. Robots maybe in your future that can smile at you.
And how about the robot that can also drive my convertible car? I mean, I feel like, you know, it should just be the in the loop experience. Like everything would just work. I
like it. You can fly our flying car, you know? Yeah. So that's perfect. So we'll get the robot, the flying car, you know, turn it into a submarine as well. And I think we've got everything covered. So
that's right. And you go underwater and it can text for you too. And then you don't even have to do the flying license and the driving license. You would just stick in the code.
Have the robot do it.
And it'd be done.
Yeah. And then it can, you know, carry your groceries for you when you get out of the car. So
you know what? We wouldn't even have to go to the store. The robot would pick up the groceries.
Robot.
Then, oh man, this is sounding very unhealthy for us.
Yes, I know. Yeah.
What do we do?
Robot, get me a burrito.
And then, like, exercise for me.
Yeah, we'll just be sitting there in my couch, like not moving with having. Yeah, it could go bad really quick.
Yeah, it could go really bad real quick. But you know.
Yeah. But those are some of the things that I found this week, you know, that I wanted to talk about. And I know next week we've got the Apple event, which is coming up. We talked about it last week. Yeah. Yes. So big day.
That people.
Yeah. Big day for new iPhones. So we're planning to be here after that event to do a show. And then right after this show next week, this is what I was going to say that I'm doing. So I'll be out for a little bit because I am going to Amsterdam to the International Broadcasting Convention, where I'm going to be one of the hosts of Microsoft's big booth at this event. So Microsoft hired me to go over there to kind of be a video host, to do some interviews, to talk to all their people. I can't say exactly what they're doing, but they have a big booth there. And this International Broadcasting Convention is huge, IBC. It's for basically anything associated with broadcasting, especially tech-wise, camera-wise, streaming-wise, all of that. This is where everybody goes in that industry to talk about it, to see the newest innovations. I am so excited to see it. I'm hoping I get a chance to go check out all of the technology that's going to be there, some of the coolest stuff in cameras, how everybody's integrating all of this this huge world that's really sprung up over the last 3 years of just, I mean, longer than that, but particularly I feel like since COVID, since 2020, like there's been so many rapid advancements and just seeing what everybody's doing with it. So pretty excited to be doing that. Did not get my global entry pass. So whoops. I should have planned. I didn't know this was coming, but I should have planned ahead anyway. So
we're gonna get it done, Greg. I'm telling you, we're gonna have you start the process, and that way, maybe on enrollment on arrival. Fingers crossed.
I'm gonna try. Yeah, I will do it right after this. I'll go on there and apply for it. See if I can make that happen. That would be cool. But yeah, pretty excited to be out there. So that's gonna be a fun trip, and I'll come back with lots of pictures. I've never been to Amsterdam. If anybody has any recommendations, let me know. I have a couple of days, free days to roam around and take a look at some things and canals and whatever else is in Amsterdam. I mean, Amsterdam's an amazing city. I've just never been there. So looking forward to it. But,
how far is that from you, Vicky?
Yeah, right.
Well, very cool. Well, that sounds like an amazing trip. So, Greg, I'm excited for you.
Thank you. Yeah, looking forward to it. And, just everything else coming up here in this next week. It's going to be a busy week. So we've got Apple coming up, and then just this month in September, you have a Tesla event. There's probably going to be a Google event. Who knows how much we're getting into this new tech season, and lots of stuff to cover and talk about. But as always, if you have anything you want to send, please, by all means, send it to me. Love getting messages. Love seeing what people create. Always cool. Oh, that was one other thing you asked at the beginning, the launch on Monday for Artemis.
Yes.
Didn't happen. Saturday now is a scheduled
pending weather, right? Pending weather.
Saturday is what they're kind of targeting. I think it's 2 p.m. Eastern, so 11 a.m. Pacific, which is much better for me because the other launch was really early in the morning. I'm like, because I woke up and like scratched. Okay, back to sleep. I'm not staying up for this anymore. But this is a great timing for me. So and for at least in the United States. So we'll see if it gets off the ground. Hopefully it will. But yeah, I'll find out more about that this weekend. So,
yeah, lots of things. Yeah, lots of things. And I don't know if you heard this, Greg, but because of the Artemis launch, actually Krispy Kreme Donuts actually launched her special Artemis donut. And I don't remember exact price, but it was like trending in news too. So you can actually still get it. They're saying they're gonna continue to have this donut until it actually launches. So
what kind of donut is it?
I don't know. It's like a Krispy Kreme donut, but it's got like a space color thingy on top.
All right.
Yeah, so spacey looking donut.
Make a party of it. Yeah,
I know.
Definitely. Yeah, awesome.
Well, awesome. I mean, before you go, then thank you everyone for tuning in. I just want to share. I teased it earlier, but I want to save it till now. I just sent out posted a brand new article on Forbes this week, so definitely check it out. I'm gonna go ahead and share it. For y'all to check out. But for those of you who have retirement accounts like 401ks and IRAs and whatnot. A lot of people going through job changes right now, and there's options out there in case you need to take money from it. I thought I would share this out because I think it's really timely. Anyhow, but on that, take a look if you can, and do me a favor, make a comment, share it, tag me on it, so I know that you shared it. So I can thank you so much for that, and feel free to tag Greg on it too. Why not?
Well, I will be resharing it as soon as we're done here because that's awesome.
Thank you.
Everybody go check that out.
Thank you so much. Well, I'm so excited, Greg. Next week is going to be such a big week. I can't wait to hear what you have to say. I've been telling everybody, I'm like, Greg's going to talk about Apple now. Like, hopefully the flight ghosting, and you can tell us about the flight as well on Wednesday. But so Wednesday, I think, Greg, we're coming to everybody a little bit earlier next Wednesday, and so for those of you who are joining us on the West Coast, we're going to come around noon, plus or minus, and we'll keep you updated on that, of course, but plus or minus around noon. And if you're joining us on different coasts, obviously Vicky in different areas, just, it's going to be about 12 noon on the West Coast. So it'll probably be about 3 p.m. on the East Coast. So just factor that. Hopefully you can catch us because I know Greg is going to be preparing a lot of notes for us to pay attention to. And I know a lot of people are wondering what Apple's going to announce.
Yeah, it's going to be a big day, so it'll be a fun one for sure. So yeah. And other than that, I think as always, so much fun being here with everybody. Thank you so much for being here with us. And yeah, keep sending me whatever tech stories you find. Love seeing that. And yeah, I think that's it.
I think that's a wrap. Thank you, friends.
All right.
Talk to you next week. Take care.
Bye.